Hey guys, welcome back to Clockwork Noodles. I hope you are well. We are here to break down episode 7 of the second season of Vinland Saga. Welcome to the channel if you are new. I am Becca. I break down anime every single week. This time we are focusing in on the second season of Vinland Saga, aka Farmville, aka Goatee Saga. I love the idea of Goatee Saga. That's my favourite name right now. We are breaking down the 7th episode. Before we get going, do make sure you guys are subscribed. Also go check out the midway review. Vinland Saga is on there quite a few times, so go and see what I have awarded for Vinland Saga halfway through the season. It's definitely worth a watch, and it took all day to put up, so it's definitely worth checking out, even just for the pity of how long it took me to get that video up online, man. It took forever. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and if you are not aware, this is the cursed week of breakdowns for me. Episode 7s of everything so far has literally traumatized me, had me reduced to tears, or mentally hurt me. Prepared to come into this anime, gritting my teeth. I was waiting for something bad to happen, and oddly enough, the anime about slavery is the one which hurt me the least. Very shocked right now. Yes, it was a brutal episode to get through. Vinland Saga did something that the other animes didn't do. Technically, it cut away. It only shows you afterwards, enough to be brutal, but it did spare me the actual event itself, apart from when Forgil goes all hell on everything. Arnheid is the one who technically starts all my happiness. Bring a nice happy face to Einar, who was just fighting his confusion because he couldn't figure out what was going on. It was a very nice sequence, and Thorfinn noping the hell out of there, watching those two flirt. Him being a really great wingman, but also him being very awkward. Even with Einar realising that Thorfinn has been a bit on the considerate side was absolutely fantastic. So I really like that moment with Thorfinn. But it was a really nice, happy moment I needed because the hell of this week and the breakdowns, it's been heavy, man. I needed something happy, and happy Einar really is just one of those things. But of course, we needed that harsh reminder that, again, we are slaves. They are objects. So Arnheid being treated absolutely poorly is a bit of a wake-up call, because up until this point, the slaves on Ketil's farm have, of course, mainly been men. They're allowed to bargain for their freedom eventually. And even I put right here, I bet she isn't allowed to buy her own freedom. I bet she's not had the offer to buy her freedom. It does come back up when Einar basically concludes that yes, I don't know if Arnheid could have the ability to buy her own freedom. The likelihood is no, because she's not growing anything. She's there as a companion. She's there to comfort Ketil. Even at the end, when we see the awkward situation that she's in, he's probably not gonna let her go anyway because he's becoming attached to her. She hasn't got anything that she can physically sell to make money back apart from herself. Very different times. The past generally is the worst, especially if you are a lass. In this situation as well, the likelihood is that she's definitely not getting out of her bonds of slavery anytime soon. Let's just marvel at the beauty that is Thorfinn. The amount of wonder he gets from looking at these tiny little sprouts. One day that these little sprouts are going to be food. They're going to be crops. You guys know me. Any smile I see with Thorfinn, it's amazing. It's definitely the best episode of the week to see in Thorfinn's. It's also showing that time is slowly passing by, because last week these were just seeds that they were just handing out, and now they're starting to sprout. A really nice little moment for me as well, just to chill out with. And I'm not quite sure this is actually how you pray, Einar, but my goodness, this is definitely me when I pray for certain animes to come back. I'm just like, please give me a second season of this. Give me a second season of that. Where is my third season of Noragami? Where is it? Go on. That's definitely me praying to the anime gods. I love this moment so much. It's just so over the top. Thorfinn's face, like, should I leave you? Should I go? And then him being dragged into it as well. I really do see Einar as that older brother who's like, come on, we're doing it. I don't care. You're not going to be embarrassed. You're going to be shouting louder, Thorfinn. Louder for those in the back. I don't care. Make Thorfinn shout as loud as you can, because I want Thorfinn to be so loud that he ends up regaining himself. He finds himself again. Einar is great medicine when it comes to Thorfinn. He is the medicine for Thorfinn he never knew he needed. Love the chemistry between these two. I really do like the way that these two are growing on each other. I'm just so proud. I am just so happy. There's my happy little moment as well. The happy moment is over. We need to go and discuss the new character, Forgil. Not Thorfinn. Forgil. Fins and gills are all fishy related. Thorfinn has fins, and this is the guy with the gills. Sadly, as much as I hate him, he does actually do something useful and bring us information of King Canute. That war is changing a man, it changes a person. Irony that the dad also went to war. He found himself in a different manner which his son has found. We see Ketil has gone the opposite, very similar to Thorfinn, where he's actually trying to forget. He doesn't want to be associated with the name Iron Fist, whilst Forgil comes back and he's a new man, he's violent, he's quite brutal, and he's carrying around a lovely trinket. beautiful trinket. That makes me sick. We were also told that he was trained by Snake. I really wanted to praise Snake this week. The scene happened and I was like, oh, I can't praise you now. I actually did praise him a little bit in my midway. Sorry, Snake, you're going to have to go back onto the pile a little bit. Omar's future does end up being brought back and it's debated. Give a little total in the corner how many times I call Ketil a softie. He really is. He's such a softie because he's worrying about Omar. We're putting up the idea that kind of useless. He's got no skills. He'd probably just die. But I do think it's as well. Ketil is trying to say, well, I worry about my son. I don't want my son to go to war. I refuse. And he's already seeing what happens to one of his sons. He's scared. He's scared of his own son. Initially, I was going to also praise him for putting the kids in the stock because I wrote right here, this is actually a pretty soft punishment for what would naturally happen in this period of time. And I was like, okay, it's not going to happen. It's great. And of course, it has to happen after the meal. And I'm like, oh no, okay, never mind. I'm going to scratch that. But I did want to at least read it to you guys because even I recognize that time in the stocks is nothing compared to what does happen and what could happen, what should happen according to their tradition and doesn't happen. I mean, go Ketil for managing to lessen the punishment, but ooh, ouch. Thorgil reminding us of the brutalities of war and how many people he has taken lives from. These are all Einar's people. Very easy to lose yourself in the plot and how mundane the plot has been so far on the farm. There's that brutal reminder that there's a war going on. People are being enslaved. People are being killed. These are all Einar's people. He could have friends and family. Maybe he knew some of those people who have now become part of the trinket that he's keeping with him. Thorgil spilling the beans that Ketil also went to war and he was also a battle-hardened soul. Something that I haven't really mentioned this season is the idea of Valhalla and the warrior's spirit. Finding yourself on the battlefield, finding yourself through deeds on the battlefield. It's natural that we see a lot of these men like Omar wanting to go to war. It would have been a thing where they believed that, you find yourself on the battlefield. War was very much a part of their tradition that they followed. As we were talking about it all, I did start to wonder if Ketil felt ashamed of his past, ashamed of what he's been through. Instead of being like Thorgil, where he's battle hardened and he's ended up snapping in a wrong direction, he's now just brutal and doesn't realise what he's doing. You've got Ketil who's actually realised the brutality of the situation. What he's been through makes him sick. I did wonder if he was trying to atone for everything he's done by allowing slaves to eventually buy their freedom, to treat them somewhat more respectfully than most people of the period would. The fact that he's trying to keep Omar from war is because he knows very well the horrors of war and what happened. He is suddenly becoming very similar to Thorfinn. Thorfinn, who was a bit like Thorgil at one point when he was that brutal season 1 Thorfinn. But now Thorfinn's calmed down and he's having his night terrors. And if you haven't seen the 6.5 episode, do so. It's 5 minutes long on the channel, but there is a 6.5 episode on Mappa's channel. It's 2 minutes long. Thorfinn is now like Ketil in that sense where he's haunted constantly. And I can imagine that Ketil is being haunted by night terrors. The reason why he wants a companion, someone to just spill all the beans to and try and find atonement, because some people feel better telling somebody else their crimes. He's haunted. He is haunted exactly like Thorfinn wants to tell people, this is what I have done. I'm actually not a great person. I'm not this great Iron Fist. Ketil is definitely a big softie, physically moved to tears by the pleas of the children. It's very hard to imagine him as Ketil the Iron Fist when you've got a man moved to tears. Other grown men who want to pretty much beat the living crap out of them. But he's there upset. He's very moved to tears. He doesn't want to do anything to these kids. He is angry at Snake. Well, you basically threatened them. I am angry at this when he tells Snake to shut up because you're scaring them. It shows you the kind of person that Ketil really is, and he's got a very soft heart. Thorgil reminds us the traditional punish where you would cut somebody's arm off for stealing. In some countries, even till this day, it is natural to cut off a hand or an ear off a thief. Interesting to see that this dates back that far, and you can see the punishment has changed to a hand or an ear now, which is probably less damning than cutting off a whole arm. Is quite morbid, but the idea that this punishment has remained roughly the same throughout all this period of time, terrifying. And you can see that Ketil is terrified of his own son. A softie, he's actually come out of the war in a different manner than his son. War has changed his son. He doesn't see his son anymore. I can imagine the reason why he's also trying to hold Omar back is because he doesn't want to lose his other son. It's very obvious that Ketil does not want to hurt them, and it's actually quite sad to see him struggling because in the end he ends up very pressured into having to exact a punishment. I was going to say Patir is technically a hero by allowing them to pay Ketil back by working, because eventually they might be free. They have a way to feed themselves, so this is great. And as well, Patir is technically the doctor who helped Thorfinn. He would maybe be allowed to help their ill mum if they worked for him, but at the same time he is the one who says, well, technically we need to also beat them And that's obviously where we go down the beating path. It's not just enough to have them work. They need to be punished. It's horrible. I was really about to defend Snake too, but as soon as Snake pulls out the beating stick, I'm like, okay, you can go back on there now. I like Snake. I think he's a really cool design and I admire him. But at the same time, it's like, it's brutal. But I understand at this period of time, this is what you guys believe in, but it's very brutal and very hard to even watch. Quite difficult is seeing Catil being forced. His hand feels forced. I have to do this because I know that everyone's watching me. Everyone's expecting this of me as the man of the family. I have to do this. Brutality that we see with Thorgil, where he pretty much breaks ribs. He definitely lands a blow, sends the kid flying through the air. It's painful to watch. It's horrible. If he had done another 10 blows, that kid wouldn't have survived 20. Seeing the kid trying to be like that, I would take 20, anything to protect my sister, reminded me a little bit as well. The eyes. It reminded me of Thorfinn. Season 1 Thorfinn. Those eyes, anger. I saw Thorfinn very briefly in the moment when he was looking at them. The kid also ends up losing teeth. You know that Catil didn't want to do it, but he ended up having to do it because he realised I'd be the only one who's holding back. Thorgil definitely wouldn't have held back. He would be dead if it was Thorgil. Snake probably would have gone easy, but he also would have probably been quite brutal. So Catil realising that, I'm probably the only person who's going to hold back. And I felt bad because you knew he doesn't want to do it, but he has to, because if I let Thorgil do it, the guy's going to die. It's that moment at the end, that very quiet moment where he's gone to Arnheid. It's a weird scene because obviously it's bittersweet because she's a slave. She has no choice but to be there to listen to him. But at the same time, I do agree. He is a good person. He is being kind, and that really isn't a sin. You're being kind. I understand how you feel. He's scared of war. He is scared of violence. He's scared of his son. He's scared of what he's done. He's reminiscent of Thorfinn. I like Catil. I think Catil is a nice character. I don't hate him for what he's had to do, but it's a very difficult episode to watch. But at the same time, there's a lot of really nice things this episode that I wanted to praise, and a lot of it I think I've covered. Interesting to see that it's the mistress who is quite rough on her, but at the same time, at this period of time, as her position, even as a free woman, she's nothing more than her husband's property, so she must probably taken out some of that anger on Arnheid. The past is the worst, but it was a heavy episode, definitely the heaviest episode we've had in a while. We've had a bit of action this week, and not the right type of action in the slightest. Stuff's happening, the plot is starting to move. We've had news of Canute coming to the farm finally. It's going to be interesting to see where we go next week. For some reason it looks like Thorfinn gets a little bit worked up, but I can't imagine why he's getting worked up. We will see where we go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're looking after yourselves and you've had a great weekend. I will see you guys again next week, guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.